Hey, my name's Reiser. I'm a 10-year Army veteran. I was an artillery officer, graduated from West Point in 2011, where I played D1 lacrosse, and now I'm currently unemployed, working for myself and having the time of my life. Here's the thing. It is, most people will feed you a bunch of other bullshit, and they'll tell you to buy their stuff and sell you all these products and everything else. I've done everything that I explained in School of Grit. I have my own story. I built it from scratch, and I didn't have any resources. I had resources, but I didn't have a framework that I have now. My goal with School of Grit is not to spoon feed all this information. It is to deliver it to people and allow them to walk on their own path. That I have to getting people to understand that they can be self-sufficient versus going externally to have other people manage their money or their real estate or whatever it is. It's in the name. It's a school. My goal is to educate people. The grit side is that you have to do it yourself. And if anybody tells you that they can do it for you or they can make it easy, they're probably just lying to you. You have to go, you have to learn, you have to struggle, you have to go through your own process. And that is the part that for me, when I was getting started, as I went through that process, I built up my own confidence in myself, which allowed me to generate. I bought a couple rental doors, I started a company, and it was like 60 grit sandpaper. It's that smooth. It was not smooth at all. It's very hard. It is doable and it is achievable. I did it in about 3 years. And my goal for School of Grit is I want to help people to help themselves, okay? And it's very hard to go through life, through business, through the military without a sense of community. And what I saw was I was an officer. Like, I had a college degree, I served 10 years, and I struggled transitioning out of the military. And I also had my finances set up in the last 3 years or so. And it is very hard for people that weren't making officer salary, even sometimes guys and girls that have officer salary. Everybody struggles with it. And nobody else is going to help you unless you help yourself. However, you can build community where everybody helps each other get better, and that's really why I'm building School of Grit. School of Grit is everything that I've done from birth till now. I have only wanted to be in the military and play lacrosse. Towards the end of my Army career, I felt another calling. I wanted to go do something else. And I realized that money was really my only limiting factor. It was just money. Because if my salary went away and my benefits and everything else went away, what else do I have that's mine? Nothing. I really didn't have much. So I started learning about it. I started building my own portfolio, my net worth, and everything else. And I also started bringing my living expenses down. So I didn't really need that much to be very happy. And then once you're happy and content with that amount, whatever that is for you, and that little bit of security, like your little fortress of solitude, your time is now free. So now you can go choose to do the things that you want to do. And I started looking at, even if I could get to half, let's say I made $100,000, and that seems like a lot, but half of whatever you make. If you make 50, whatever you make, if I could get to half of that, I knew that in building those other forms of income, I would only have to basically work for 6 months out of the year. That's like 2.5 days on every work week. So even in if I could replicate 20% of my active salary, I could remove 1 day and have that day of freedom for myself and only work the other 4. And now every day of my life is a 3-day weekend. I started breaking it down very easy and simple. And it was through that whole process that I learned myself, and then I started teaching other people how to do it, because you have to walk the path. In order to teach and lead and explain to other people how to do something, you have to do it yourself. And you have to I can tell you right now, there is probably nobody else better at explaining this stuff than I, because I've worked early mornings. I've worked with bosses that were breathing down my neck and trying to steal my time and do all of the other frustrating things that they have in the military that I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably struggle with. You've got a bad boss, you've got a place that you don't want to work at. Your way of getting out is through financial freedom. It is through taking the time, the extra time, which most people would say, well, I don't want to do this. It's extra work. Yes. I'm not selling you sunset here. I'm selling you that you have to put in the extra work and the extra time, but it is achievable. You can do it, but it starts in here. And then my job and School of Grit's job is to teach you guys up here what you need and then set you free. Like I use this analogy. I'm a very, very simple guy. I use a very simple analogy. School of Grit, why you're here is financial freedom is a bowling alley, okay? And my job and School of Grit's job is the bumpers. So you're gonna throw the ball down the alley. You're gonna say, hey, I wanna commit to this. You're gonna roll the ball down. And it's School of Grit's job to keep you out of the gutters. So you're gonna bounce back and forth, but you're gonna stay out of the gutter and you're gonna maybe hit something on the first try. The best part about it is that even if you don't hit anything or you hit one or two pins, the ball comes back around and you get to roll it again. There's no time limit. You can roll as many times as you want. But what I didn't have was the gutter. I didn't have the bumpers. I ended up in the gutter a bunch of times. So I have that like scar tissue and that experience. And also, it's okay to fail. And you're gonna live to fight another day, I promise. I'm living proof of that. So I get excited when I talk about this stuff. I was an ROTC instructor for 2 years, and it seemed to be when I talked about the Army and the curriculum, it's kind of boring. Nobody really seemed to pay attention. But then when I talked about like Captain Reiser's experience in the Army with like deployments or Ranger School or interacting with soldiers and NCOs and like doing stuff in the field, I'd say like kind of 50% of the people paid attention. But when I started talking about money and explaining to people that had I done this, what I was doing now, earlier on in my career, I would have hundreds of thousands of dollars saved up and built up in equity and cash flow and reserves and everything else. That would have put me at an incredible level. I was very, very fortunate to have stumbled across what real estate is, how to use the VA loan to get yourself to freedom, how to start your own company, how to figure out how to make money outside of the military and outside of your W-2 pay. And when I would talk about that stuff, everybody seemed to pay attention. Because when you throw out a number like $100,000, in a couple of years or $1 million, people start paying attention because they think what they can use that money for in their life. It's what they can, like how they can use that money to, go travel or buy their family something or their girlfriend or their boyfriend or whatever. Money is just a tool. And my job is to teach how to use the tool, like the tools of the trade, in order to get you to your own happiness, whatever that is, right? Because personally, I live on about $50,000 in passive cash flow. And I'm getting ready to take a trip around the country and camp and hike and do all the things that I've always wanted to do. And I can hack that, if you will, on 50 grand a year. And that's my personal freedom. So if your personal freedom is 100,000 or you need 6 figures or whatever it is, the process to get there is just a little bit longer. And I always am a big proponent of limiting your expenses and then building over time. Really only takes a couple of years. You got to be dedicated to do it. But once you get that amount of money, whatever it is in your brain that you're comfortable living at, now your time is free. And then this whole other world of freedom and the availability to go do what you want and live your own life earlier on when you're younger, when you still have that spark to you. You're not 65 and retired and your body doesn't work as well. You're like, I should have done this earlier in life. Times are changing and this is a new way of doing things. And using your military benefits, what you have at your disposal, can help you get there faster. And that's what I really want to do with School of Grit.